Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
So, we will conclude this topic today except for the data part. What we found is the complex money multiplier one plus C plus T. Okay. So, if anybody asks you why does broad money change, why does broad money change in the economy? There are two reasons. Monetary base is changing and or the complex money multiplier is changing. So, broad money can change. Now, if you look at the complex money multiplier, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 parameters which are important. Currency to demand ratio, demand deposit, currency to demand deposit ratio C over D, small c is C over D. Currency to demand deposit ratio essentially depends upon people's spending habits. Suppose they receive more income, they can spend more than put money in demand deposits, they have sufficient demand deposits, so the ratio can get altered. Then T, again people's habit, how much they would like to put for current use, this month, next month use, and how much they would like to put away into fixed deposit accounts for future use. That is also people's decision. It can also depend upon the income, many other factors maybe, the state of the economy, income, etc. So, these are the factors that will determine maybe T. Then government's decision is very important. Government means central banks, monetary policy, gamma. Monetary policy, this is CRR. So, if CRR changes, then the complex money multiplier value will change, ceteris paribus, keeping other things constant. Again, broad money can change, which in fact central bank tries to do. They alter CRR. In India, for instance, RBI does that. They control CRR to control broad money, etc. And finally, there is a parameter which is not statistically very significant. You will see the numbers today. E is banks cash holding. Banks cash holding is not a very large number. Now, what I am trying to tell you is there are various reasons, there can be various reasons for which M3 changes. Now, I do not know in the current literature, but in the past there were a lot of interest in how M3 changes and M1 changes. Now, if you go to countries like US, they have something called narrow money and they also have something called broad money, which we call M1 and M3. These countries, there are various reasons for which some studies focused upon narrow money, some studies focused upon broad money. Usually, it is the broad money which interests people most, economists most. Let me tell you a little bit about what I found probably in Michigan. These are the books and paper and people's name whom I know. There used to be a Nobel laureate, he is probably no longer alive, at Chicago University, Milton Friedman. Milton Friedman used to be called the father of right wing economics who believes in market systems and no government intervention, classical. He and his friends used to be called monetarists. I mentioned that in my macro course. It's a branch of classical macroeconomics called monetarists who focuses on money supply. And the basic thing is that besides studying how money supply changes over time, longer time period, shorter time period, the focus, they also used to say that control money supply, because too much of money would create inflation, if nothing else. And they never believed in Keynesian policies, that government can do something good for the economy. This is the classical mode, and monetarism is a branch of classical macroeconomics. And Milton Friedman and somebody used to say his girlfriend, somebody said his wife, but what we call them professionally his colleague, Anna Schwartz, wrote a number of books. One of the famous books, which may be in the library, is A Monetary History of the United States, 1867 to 1960, the data period, monetary history of the United States. So, they tried to analyze and prove the behavior of the macroeconomy over this 100-year period, nearly 100-year period, using their belief that money supply plays a key role, and whatever happens to the economy is the play of the free market, capitalism. The political alliance, you know, this free market capitalism is more aligned with the right wing Republicans, and the Democrats, Obama, etc., are more with, they believe in free market, etc., but they also believe in government role. Then one of their students became famous. He lived a very short life, Philip Kagan from Chicago University. He wrote a book also called Determinants and Effects of Changes in the Stock of Money. Stock of money, money stock kaun sa hai? Which variable? M1 or M3? Namrata? M? Louder. It's not. No. M3. So, he wrote a book on M3, and what Friedman, etc., people were more interested in M1 those days, their definition of M1, which is different, slightly different from our definition of M1, but similar. And Philip Kagan was more into high powered money, money stock, M3. High powered money has many names, M3, money stock, broad money, reserve, sorry, broad money, etc. No, sorry. High powered money is different from M3. High powered money is the base money, reserve money, M0. And the broad money is also called money stock, M3. So, they were not multiplier necessarily, they were looking into the behavior, the change in the number of currency to money supply ratio, currency to demand ratio, currency to money supply ratio. Here we have C, small c is C over D, currency to money supply ratio, required reserve ratio, gamma, that variable. Two periods they used to select, business cycles, short run periods, where economy is going up and down, business cycles, that what you learn in your intermediate macroeconomics, ISLM model, etc., business cycle models, and also long run, all right, 10-year, 20-year, 30-year period they study. Milton Friedman's book was nearly 100 years data, there it was, okay, the very long run. So, they found that the multiplier is not really the variable in the responsible for the change in the money stock, M3. They found M0 change is the primary thing that was causing M3 change. However, the currency to money stock, etc., these small parameters like C, etc., became important over cycles, short run period. Short run may income bade, C can increase like that. But long run period, the dominant factor determining the movement in M3 in their studies was M0. the base, monetary base. And they also had in Kagan currency to money supply ratio as well as currency to deposit ratio, maybe total deposits. And he also found that it moves in the direction of national income over cycles, across cycles, and it moves pro-cyclically. Pro-cyclically means when the economy is going up, income increasing, employment increasing, unemployment falling, consumer spending increasing, C value or something near to C, similar to C, small c, is increasing. Pro-cyclical change. When it is going down, it is also going down. Now, we need to check our C values, currency to demand deposit ratio. So, different studies use different variables, and they were more interested into movement and study of this kind of parameters and influence of monetary base on M3. I am not saying that you have to do that, I am saying this is what is being done, used to be done, and I think our central bank etc. are still interested in these issues. It is not that it is an old issue, they are still interested. So, if anybody is interested in money multiplier, money supply process etc., a lot of data these days is available and the literature is also available, dates back to 1960s, if not earlier. And people like Anna Schwartz, Milton Friedman, Philip Kagan, the Chicago School and some affiliated places did a lot of work on that. The Keynesian policies are more in kind of demand management policy, stabilization policy etc. So, what I do now, having told you about money supply, first topic I did not have any data, second topic I would like to show you some data and I will send you the data files which will contain the numerical tables as well as the plots that I show you here. Right now, I will not show you so much of the tables, I will show you the plots of the variables, all right. And but when I will send you a Word file in a couple of days time, you will have then the tables, numbers, actual numbers and also the plots. So, let us see what I have first. M0, M1, M3, monetary base, M1, M3. Notice the huge difference, particularly since the mid 90s, it started picking up, late 90s. The green line shoots up like an aeroplane. Aeroplane जा रहा है, ये मार्स का अभियान हो रहा है देश में, ये रॉकेट जा रहा है मार्स में, एकदम shoots up. Whereas M1 and monetary base are slow, close to each other. So, there is a big difference between M0, M1 on the one hand and M3. So, M0 disturbances are very little or similar to M0. So, you can say M1 and M0 moved similar to each other in India, particularly last 20 years or so, or maybe 18 years or so. Monetary base and M1 were very close to each other, which means I am talking about that if you look at the multipliers, M1, what I had was, if you can help me, 1 plus C over, what is the multiplier I had? 1 plus C over C plus R plus E. R was a truncated reserve ratio. 1 plus C over C plus R plus E. Now, this multiplier was very weak, had no influence on M1. You can clearly see from the two lines. You do not have to go to any analysis. Look at the two lines, they are like दो भाई भाई जा रहे, इवनिंग में निकाले, सुबह निकाले एक साथ, इवनिंग में भी एक साथ जा रहे, हिल के ऊपर जा रहे, थोड़ा थोड़ा, माउंटेन नहीं, हिल के ऊपर, हाथ पकड़ के जा रहे एकदम. मल्टीप्लायर का कोई इफेक्ट ही नहीं है. मॉनेटरी बेस M0 and M1 are very close to each other. They have a very close relationship, very intimate relationship. ऑलराइट। लेकिन M3 को देखिए हाल, ये M0 के साथ कोई रिलेशनशिप है ही नहीं, वो अपना मन से जा रहा है। क्यों जा रहा है? दैट मल्टीप्लायर इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इन इंडिया over time. Just the opposite of Anna Schwartz and Milton Friedman, what they were saying happened in 100-year period in the US or in the 60s research on this kind of an issue. Today in India, broad money multiplier has a much stronger influence than the monetary base. This fellow here, which I call small m2, has a much stronger influence on m3 than this. So, what you are saying that the behavioral parameters C, T and of course, government central banks CRR, they determine, E is a very small number, I will show you, they determine the strength of the multiplier, strength of M3, the movement of M3. देखिए ये जैसे कोई ओलंपिक वाला आए है जो रेस में सामने गया, आप देखा, आप डिड यू वॉच ओलंपिक गेम्स? सम competitors were so good, they were far ahead of the rest, एकदम far ahead, unbelievable how much of a distance there was from the first position and the second position. Some were very close, like the 100-meter sprint, etc., that Usain Bolt stuff, very close, but some of them were, my goodness, marathon में हुआ था, देखा बहुत difference था. This M3 fellow here you can see is which you has an exponential curve, you know, it's an exponential function, exploding. क्यों? फर्क क्या है दो मल्टीप्लायर के अंदर? क्यों उसको ऐसा जोर जबरदस्त ऊपर जा रहा है? क्यों? Now you tell me the reason. Let's see your intuition. Why the M3 complex multiplier is so strong and increasing that monetary base has very little influence on M3? Very good, wonderful. T, small multiplier and large multiplier का फर्क एक important है तो reserve ratio properly है नहीं, R है इधर gamma है, लेकिन सबसे बड़ा factor है T. The time deposit in India to demand deposit ratio. Now this I cannot just explain like this. People have more income, simple. People have more income where to do what to do with Indian habits. They don't put money in the stock market, which abroad they do. They have look for a safe zone, park the money, and they are putting in the fixed deposits. So banks are flush with funds. Literally banks are flooded with money, deposits, and that's time deposits. So where would the time deposits be kept? These are all banks' time deposits, fixed deposit accounts there. It's a fantastic thing in India. We are very conservative, we don't invest in stock market, etc., and we just park the money, excess income. You understand what I am saying? So this is what you see. Next, the growth rates, and you will see, I will give you standard deviation, etc. You can clearly see the blue line growth rate is the most erratic. Why? Of course, as I told you, if anything hits the economy like an earthquake, shocks, it will first hit the monetary base. Now, if the superstructure is very strong, you won't feel it much, but the shock is absorbed, external shocks, internal shocks, by the monetary base. So you can see clearly the blue line fluctuations are much wider. Then comes the red line, which is the M1, because blue and red are close to each other. Now I told you the previous diagram. And green वाला देखो अपने मन में है, वो earthquake हो रहा है कि नहीं, flood हो रहा है कि नहीं, कुछ नहीं है, एक structural break है, around 2004-05 एकदम ऊपर चले गए, उसके बाद धीरे धीरे नीचे के तरफ आ रहा है. The growth rate is falling, recession वगैरह चल रहा है, growth rate is falling, but is much stable. So the standard deviation, if you calculate the differences in variation, the number will be much smaller for M3 vis-a-vis M0 and M1. Now let me see, M0 का standard deviation है 7.7, M1 का स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन है 6.2 एंड M3 का स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन हाफ है 3.2 होगा ही much stable curve M3 exponential growth exponentially going up but the growth across years over years is much more stable standard deviation बहुत कम है 3.2 और डबल है स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन डबल के ज़्यादा है मॉनेटरी बेस में M1 में भी काफ़ी है नियरली डबल ठीक है डबल होते थे 6.4 होते थे 6.2 है so this what you expect to happen all right next is share of M0 components M0 में 3 है other deposits bankers deposits with RBI and currency in circulation कौन सा ज़्यादा है currency in circulation you can see last few years currency in circulation is about 70% थोड़ा 70% कभी नीचे कभी ऊपर about 70% that means 30% है bankers deposits because other deposits are very little other deposit एकदम एक लेथर्जिक आदमी के माफिक छुट्टी के दिन हमको मिलेंगे तो मैं सही छुट्टी के दिन लेटे हूँ और उठ जग नहीं रहा हूँ आप लोग भी हो सकते करते हैं वो लेटे ही है उधर वो जग नहीं रहा है वो 1991 में भी जगे थे नहीं थोड़ा जगे थे 93 92 ऊपर उठ के फिनिश हो गया 2009 10 7 8 11 12 सब एकदम फ्लैट आई टोल्ड यू अदर डिपॉजिट्स है ही नहीं नंबर so percentage of currency and bankers roughly 70-30 division roughly 70-30 division एक mid early 2000 new millennium में early वो बहुत ऊपर चले गए थे देखो ऊपर में एक कर्व है वो 80 के आसपास 75 के बीच चले बीच 70 more than 70% चले गए और below 30% चले आए थे लेकिन उसके बाद फिर सेटल कर रहा है उधर ओके अदर डिपॉजिट्स का ये अदर डिपॉजिट्स का जो शेयर है परसेंटेज ये देखो ये 1% के ऊपर मैं बताया ना थोड़ा जगह थे मिड 90s लेट 90s में 1.4 और 1.4 तक 1.6 तक गए 1.7 तक गए 1995-96 1.7 जाके गिरते 0.3 0.2 other deposits itna kam insignificant less than 1%. That's why when I was computing the multipliers algebraically I said ignore them because other deposits are very statistically numerically insignificant number. It's really you do not have to worry about them. The multiplier unnecessarily will become complex with a variable which doesn't have any numerical importance in India. So why consider them? And you can see as I told you 30 roughly 30 and ये चल रहा है अभी थोड़ा बड़े है last year 11-12 में 74 that means people are holding more currency than bankers deposits people currency ratio is going up why would people hold more currency because this inflation etc may be creating this भाव बढ़ते हैं जब ज़्यादा कैश लगते हैं सामान खरीदने के लिए so people are holding more currency we will find that out currency demand deposit ratio soon you can see clearly the currency share in monetary base has gone up. The currency share has gone up from 70, it was 75, 74, came down to 70, 69, 2011-12 में 74.8 means 75%. ठीक है, so it's fluctuating around 70 and bankers deposits कम होगा ही तो क्योंकि bankers deposits जा किस से bankers deposits are created out of the deposits they receive from us. Now if people decide to hold more currency they will they are putting in relative terms less in deposits in accounts and banks keep deposits out of that with RBI. So naturally their share would go down. So one is connected with the other. If one goes up other one goes down. ठीक है, आप ज़्यादा उधर हिल रहे तो इसको भी उधर हिलना पड़ेगा आप इधर आ रहे हैं तो वो भी इधर जाएगा ठीक है everybody following great now so this is very important study we are doing study of Indian monetary system ठीक है उसके बाद share of M1 ये मजा का लाइन देखिए M0 देखा है M1 देखिए ये एक इंस्ट्रूमेंट के माफिक लग रहा है हमको एक इंस्ट्रूमेंट होता है प्लायर्स के माफिक किसी को नाक पकड़ना है तो इंस्ट्रूमेंट लेके नाक पकड़ लो क्लास में जब बदमाशी करेगा, ऐसा जाके एक रख दूंगा इधर लंबा वाला। ये देखिए मजा। ऑफ कोर्स आधा डिपॉजिट्स तो एकदम नीचे है, उसको छोड़ दीजिए, बेचारा वो जग नहीं पा रहा है, वो सो ही रहा है उधर। डिमांड डिपॉजिट्स एंड करेंसी विथ पीपल, विद द पब्लिक, ये दोनों वेरिएबल। आप मजा देखिए, एक तो 40 के मिड में और एक 50 के मिड में, तो 90% क्या कितना हो गया? 55 एंड 45 100, नियरली 100। अच्छा, नियरली 100 हो गया। लेकिन मिड लास्ट डेकेड 2005-6 से इनका बहुत दोस्ती बढ़ गया था, एकदम आसपास आ गया। आई डोंट नो व्हाई इट हैपेंड। डिमांड डिपॉजिट, करेंसी डिपॉजिट्स बैलेंस 50-50%, 50 वो 50 ये। लेकिन रिसेशन जब से शुरू हुआ 2007-8, देखो एक मजा, विच आई वॉज ट्राइंग टू टेल यू, इन्फ्लेशन एंड रिसेशन। देखो क्या है, देखा इकोनॉमी में इन्फ्लेशन रिसेशन जब चलते हैं दोनों एक साथ, स्टैगफ्लेशन चलते हैं, क्या होता है देखो, करेंसी बढ़ जाता है। You rather spend it and buy goods because the prices are going to go up further tomorrow, and also with inflation prices are higher. So you are keeping less money in banks, and banks are also not offering much interest rate. If inflation is high, real return is Irving Fisher's equation, less. If real return is less, why put money in the bank? Put it in goods, buy things, or put it elsewhere. So currency holding has gone up. If inflation, you know, things cost more, so you need more cash. I have seen that. I notice myself when I go and withdraw money, cash from the bank, the check amounts I write and how frequently I visit. I clearly notice that the expenses at home, my home, is going up definitely. If I look at my passbook, it will clearly say since when I have increased on kind of a permanently my monthly expenses. Clearly, the check amounts I withdraw, I clearly notice how frequently and how much I withdraw. So this is exactly what is happening. दो line अलग हो गया देखो, recession चल रहा है, inflation भी चल रहा है, which we call stagflation. Stagflation में देखो दोनों अलग हो गया। अभी जाके कभी मिले तो किसी का नाक पकड़ लेंगे, इन किसको मिलेंगे, कब मिलेंगे पता नहीं है, एकदम ऊपर और नीच। तो एक अच्छा टाइम इंडियन इकोनॉमी में था जब एनडीए गवर्नमेंट खत्म हुआ, यूपीए 1 था, देखो 50% था शेयर। रिसेशन आए 2008 अगस्त, 2008 अगस्त के बाद वर्ल्ड रिसेशन आए, इंडिया में आए नहीं, बाद में आए इंडिया में। धीरे 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 एक जा रहा है टू 60%, एक जा रहा है टू 40%। बहुत, a percentage point in lakhs of crores of money is huge, and 10 percentage point difference is massive difference. You are talking about money supply, remember, maybe narrow money, lakhs of crores. I will go show you, I will give you the data, data tables. So 1% change there is huge number. I mean, if they gift you 1% change in money supply, you will be very happy. Maybe you will stop coming to IIT Kanpur, studying, go and buy a big house and stay there rest of your life. 10 percentage point difference हो गया within 3 years. 10 percentage point, can you believe that? Massive change. अच्छा, next M3, एकदम अलग डायग्राम। करेंसी एंड डिमांड डिपॉजिट्स नीचे, टाइम डिपॉजिट्स अपना मन में ऊपर में जा रहे हैं। सो इफ अदर डिपॉजिट्स आर नेग्लिजिबल, करेंसी एंड डिमांड डिपॉजिट्स अगेन सिमिलर, दे आर वेरी सिमिलर। देखो इधर में भी है, लेकिन उस फर्क इतना ज़्यादा शार्प नहीं है। दे वर सिमिलर, दे वर क्लोज टू ईच अदर, नियरली 12-15%, and then now currency is taking off, demand deposits are falling, but time deposit देखिए, very interesting. Recession or no recession in India, time deposits this I really cannot explain the entire thing right now. You have to think why the time deposits percentage share in M3 did not change in recession or inflation. People probably think that the return is still good on fixed deposit accounts, but there is a tussle going on between demand deposits and current spending, C, cash holding. As a matter of fact, this has a downward trend, minor downward trend, negative slope है देखिए, ये blue and the green line here, the blue and the green line, if you draw a trend line here, it has a slightly downward slope, not 0 degree, minus degree में है देखो, and here if you draw a trend line, it's clearly a plus slope, ठीक है, maybe 15 degree angle. 10, 12, 15 degree angle होगा, nothing, and this one maybe 2 degree, 3 degree angle होगा, उससे ज़्यादा नहीं, लेकिन trend is not parallel, not 0 degree. If you draw a line, straight line, which is called a trend line in statistics, it's clearly it's saying that. So the three diagrams in terms of their component share are completely different. Look, go back to the three diagrams. M1, M0 देखो कैसे था, एक मैप के माफिक कोई देश का मैप है ये, the geographical feature, outline. M1 देखो एकदम अलग, and M3 देखो completely different. Two aggregates and one is called monetary base, their composition. Similar items are there, but they are very different. So, as you said, time deposits T must be playing havoc, because that is the most significant parameter in the complex money multiplier, is absolutely correct, because you can see the time deposits here. Any question on this? When I was a student, I never had access to data, and I never saw the lines. We knew about M1, M2, M3, but now it is wonderful to know what is going on. And this is all from RBI site. I got the data, all from RBI. All right. The next is velocity. This is very interesting. I computed two velocities, with narrow money, one, and with broad money. And you clearly see that the velocity of circulation turns out to be narrow money hai velocity is higher number. What is velocity? Nominal income or nominal GDP divided by the monetary aggregate. So, if monetary aggregate is smaller, narrow money, naturally the ratio value would be higher. And if you take M3, much bigger number with time deposit extent, the line is down. So, the velocity complex money multiplier V3 velocity is here and V1 is there, but one thing is very clear in this two, particularly note V3. What is this line doing? It has come down significantly from near 2 to 1 over a 20-year period, roughly 20-22 year period. It has definitely come down. Okay? What does it mean, velocity coming down? What is happening? Which hypothesis is correct? Irving Fisher or the Cambridge equations, the Cambridge economics, who said short run velocity may fluctuate, may also fluctuate, long run yes it will change. And Irving Fisher was saying institutional factors and technological improvements would change velocity in the long run. So, if you consider that to be a long run period, it is definitely providing support to Irving Fisher, who wrote about determinants of velocity around 1913-20. It is still valid. Why? What technological improvements and institutional factors that have changed in the last 20-22 years in India? Yes, electronic money, automatic teller machines, payment through checks, cash use is going down, velocity of circulation is going down. People need not have to carry cash, they can carry a card, make the payments, come back home. The card company will be approached by the seller to collect the money on their behalf, and bank just takes the money out from one account, puts it in another. Money is not coming out of the bank, cash. So, Irving Fisher, imagine this insight, the thinking, hardly cards existed those days, even in the Western world. Forget about electronic money, internet तो था ही नहीं. Predictions were absolutely correct. What determines velocity? Seems to me. Now, you can think about any other. So, clearly the velocity of money is falling in India. I do not know, it will be interesting to know what the velocity of money is in other countries. Fantastic, what the numbers are, maybe less than 1, I think, because there are more modern economies, more payments with cards, the number is probably very close to 0 or 1. So, velocity is going down, which also says something very interesting. Velocity is going down, then the ratio, velocity is a ratio, nominal GNP or GDP divided by money supply. If the economies are growing, then the money supply is coming closer to the nominal GDP. That is also it is saying. So, there is a lot of money supply increase in these countries, including India, which is true. M3 bahut badh raha hai. A huge amount of money supply increase, because it proves that point, the velocity is coming down. Velocity is the ratio, and then the denominator is also picking up, catching up with the numerator value, the velocity cannot decline. A lot of money supply increase is also there in these modern economies. It is like cross checking that. You solved a solution, let us cross check from some other side whether you arrive at that number or not, or what the reasons are. So, there is a lot of thinking one need to do. Why is money supply going up so much in a country like India, which is getting proved here that the velocity of circulation of money is going down. One, the institutional factors from the direct determinants of velocity. Another one may be an indirect influence that the money supply is going down, going up so much and catching up with the nominal value of GDP, that the velocity naturally is less. Why? The factors determining that is very different set of reasons that you will come up with compared to M1, Fisher's explanation of velocity going down. Institutional factors and technological improvements. Clear? All right.